Okay, this is chapter 6-7, and I'm dealing with really the second half of it, which are all the word problems. Okay, so every time you do one of these percent word problems, it's going to be the same sentence. Okay? That means we're going to write a word. What do I put for equals? Chris? Sorry, what do I put for is? I'm putting equals. Percent. I'm going to turn this into a decimal. This means multiplication of a number. Now, we do this for all different kinds of things. We do this for tax. Okay? The first one we do is for tax. What is tax? How does tax work in the real world? Yes.
It's like money you have to pay when you buy something in the USA. Like you have to give some money to the government.
Yeah. Do you pay tax?
Yeah.
All the time. Everybody pays tax. I pay tax when I work and I earn money. When I buy a candy bar, I pay tax. When I buy a house, I pay tax. Okay? We pay taxes. Okay, so what happens? So when you pay tax, you're paying percent of a number. When you pay tax, you're paying percent of a number. Does tax get added, subtracted, or does it just stay the same, the number? Abby?
Tax gets added to the original.
Added to the amount, right? Okay. Then you've got something called discount. Okay? We do the same thing. Discount is percent of a number. Okay? What happens to a discount? David?
So money is like taken off of something.
Okay? We subtract from the original number. Okay? Then you've got something called commission. Does anybody know what commission is? Yes, Lilith.
When there is an amount and then someone gets a percentage of that amount.
Right, it's a percentage of amount. Who makes commission?
Lawyers.
Lawyers make commission? Yes?
Pizza delivery guys.
They don't make commission. But we're gonna come back to them. Yes.
Agents, like actors.
Okay, agents make commission? Yes.
Salespeople.
Salespeople. You sell a car, you make a commission. Okay, I'll tell you. I did one summer job at Nordstrom in the fragrances department. I nearly got killed by those saleswomen in the perfume department if I got in the way of one of their sales. I ditched out really quick and went over to the gift wrap department. Said, I'm going to go volunteer over there. I don't need the extra $20 sale. Okay, so commission is the percent of the number. And that's what the salesman makes. We don't do anything with that. This one gets added. This gets subtracted. But this one, we just take a piece of it. Then you've got tip. Again, percent of a number. What happens, what is a tip? Abby?
A tip is extra money you give to someone, like, for example, a pizza delivery guy.
Pizza delivery guy.
You usually give them, like, it depends on how much we use. Like, I give them, like, $3, $4 tips. Sometimes.
Always, no matter what?
Usually I give them.
So what do you think for Pi Day? When I order like 200 pizzas, should I give them a $3 or $4 tip?
No, it depends. Well, I order one pizza, so I give them a smaller tip. But if I were to order, like, if I was having a big party and I ordered, like, a lot of pizzas, then I'd pay, like, a bigger tip.
And how do you figure out your tip? Harris?
Because it's always 15% and it's always like...
It's a percent of the number. It's always a percent of the number. Lilith?
Don't you just round the tax?
What she's saying is you round the tax. Tax is almost 9%, 8 1/4. Not a good idea to round the tax because then it's considered insulting to give less than 15%. Doesn't matter. It's considered. I'm taping. Even for a pizza delivery, my suggestion is it's an insult anything less than 15%. So what I do actually with my tax, since it's about 8 3/4, I double it. That's about 16, 17%, and that I double the tax, and that's what I usually give for my tip. It was real easy when it was 8% tax was our rate. Now it's a little bit more because then I really just doubled it and it took me to 16%. But what happens with the tip? Ava?
I wasn't going to say, I was going to say something about the tip.
Okay, I want to know what happens with the tip. Yeah.
Well, for pizza delivery guys, I know they make their salary off of tips.
I'm saying for us, the consumer, what do I do with that tip money? Does it get added to my bill? Subtracted from my bill? Yes. It gets added. Added to the total. Okay? That's a plus. So this is positive. This one we're adding. This one we're subtracting. And this one we are adding. What do I do with the commission? Do I add it, subtract it, or nothing? Nothing. I just take a piece of what they sell. If I work at Best Buy and I sell a TV set, I get part of that money. A percent of that money. If it's $1,000, one TV set for $1,000 and I make 10% commission, then I make $100. Okay? Got to be a good talker. Fast talker. Okay, the last one is markup. Markup. Can anybody explain markup? Shh. Sarah.
Well, when stores buy their things from other companies to sell, they add a percentage so that they can make.
So if I want to buy styluses and I buy it for 25 cents downtown, wholesale, then I bring it back to my store and I want to raise the price 300%. 100% of 25 cents would be another 25. So, 25 cents. So if I add that to the original cost, that would take me to 50. Another 25 would take me to 75. Another 100 would take me to. So if I charged $1, that would be 300% markup. Okay? So is this added or subtracted to the original amount? But I'm always doing the same operation. And
Isn't that make it 75 cents, not $1? Because 25 times 3 is 75 cents.
but I'm doing it up 300%. I'm starting at 25 cents. 50 cents, 75, $1. Right?
Is this underneath or is it like on the side?
Side.
And this one?
It doesn't matter.
Then
Oh, wait, the Y?
No, this negative.
Oh, that
27.
negative 27 should be underneath.
But is it?
Sorry, wait. All right, recording. Okay, so these are the rules. What am I always doing with all of these operations? Tax, tip, commission, markup. Yes.
Finding the percent of of a number.
Right, I'm finding a percent of a number. Okay, I'm erasing it. And let's do this. So, the tax on an $80 sweater is 6.5%. What is the tax? So, I always start with the same thing. Tax is percent of a number. Tax is, percent of a number. Start with tax is percent of a number. And I plug in my percent of, the number is 80. Yes.
Can we write 6.5?
Okay, the next thing I would do is I would convert it to 6. But remember this, with 6.5%, we have to convert that to a true decimal. What is the true decimal, Alasia?
You have to move it over twice to the left.
Right, so once I go to 6.5%, I'm moving it 2 times to the right or to the left? Left, because I'm going from P to D so now what I have is, what would that decimal look like? 0 and 65 thousandths. What do I write for of? Yes.
Multiplication sign.
And then I bring down my 80. And I multiply it out. Okay. Okay, and so we get, remember, if I have 3 decimal digits, I need to move over 3 decimal digits. 1, 2, 3. Now, in this case, what is the answer? Okay, Lilith?
$5.20
Is, take it back to the story.
is 6.5% of tax on $80.
Right, it is the tax. Now, the reason why people get these wrong is because they don't do careful reading. Yes, Abby?
Would the mistake be adding it to 80 and then leaving that as a
Exactly. The mistake would be adding it to 80. And we can't add it to, we don't need to add it to 80 because that would be the total price. But all they're asking for is what is the tax. So that's where the careful reading comes in. Okay? Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, whoops. Again, I want you to start out every single time with, what word do I fill in here? Actually, what do I fill? Hold on. I'm almost done. What do I fill in here? Zach. Okay, the sales tax on a pair of shoes is 7.25%. If the shoes cost $72, what will the total be paid, including tax? Now, this time, what do they want? Our careful reading says they need, Olivia?
The total.
They need the total. But to get the total, what else do you need to find? Yeah, yes.
tax.
The tax. I meant to call on, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Okay. It's not your fault. So, in this case, this is a 2-step problem. So we got to start with the tax. So we're filling in tax is a percent of the number. Now, what do I fill in for? I'm going to keep it at tax. What do I place for my is? Yes. What do I place for the percent? Yes, David? 7.25%. And what is the what am I putting for of? Yeah.
Multiplication.
And what do I put for the number?
72.
72. So I'm still doing tax is, Now what? How about Alejandra? What do I do next?
You need to switch the fraction, the percent into a decimal.
Okay, into a decimal. So this is really 7.25 or 7 and 25 hundredths. So what true decimal would that become? Alejandra? What would the decimal be?
It would be 0 and
Just say it however you can.
0.0725.
Good. So this becomes tax is 0 and 725. That's tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. Times 72. And then I do the multiplication. Okay, I'm doing the multiplication. Okay, 72 times 0.0. And we get tax is $5.22. Okay, am I done, Paulina?
No, you have to go back to the problem.
Okay, and what am I doing with that $5.22?
That is what it would be the whole total and with tax.
Is that the total?
No,
So what do they want here?
us to find the total.
Right, they want the total. So we're looking for this total. How do I find the total? Josh.
You add $5.22 to $72.
Okay, so I take the original amount, $72. Make sure you add decimals. And you're adding tax, which is $5.22. And we end up with $77.22.
Do you want the note?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Questions? Okay. Let's keep going. So every time I'm doing, do you notice the pattern? I'm not changing the way I do these. These are percent word problems. When you make a certain amount, it's always percent of a number. If it's a sales job, commission, okay? You can pause the recording if you want to write these notes if they're a little more clear. All right. In this case, what am I doing? What am I doing? How do I write the sentence? Somebody? Come on, guys. Every time it's the same. The only thing that changes is the first word. Okay, Paulina.
Here's percent of the number.
What's percent of a number? What are we talking about in this? Read the story. Is it tax this time?
It's what he'll make.
Right, but what word am I using? Look, tax, tip, commission, discount, or markup. What am I using? Olivia? Commission. Sorry. Commission is percent of a number. And I place my percent. It's 15. Now what would I do? Isabella Costa?
You would change the percentage into a decimal number.
Okay, and that becomes?
0.25.
0.25?
0.15.
0 and 15 hundredths. Okay.
Times 420. 4,200.
Okay, so if you want to see this last one, how am I setting this up? How am I setting it up? Yes. Shh. Okay, what? You're writing tips is 18% of a number, 18% of 730. Next step, Sergio.
Move the decimal and get 0.18.
0 and 18 hundredths of 730 times 730, 730. And what did you get?
$5.40.
Okay, is that making sense?
Yes.
Really? 18% is almost 20% of $730. 10% of $730 is $73. So you've got to make sense of the number you're getting. There's $5 and something. So I multiply it out. Okay. Now, how many decimal digits, Sergio, are you supposed to move over?
Oh, 2?
2. And so what?
Man, I did it the other way around.
And I don't know where you got that 522. So we get $131.40 and that's the slide for the day.